Obviously, Shabbos this year is Yom Kippur. And I just want to focus from a hashkafa perspective on Yom Kippur as a day that it's a day of tshuva, of course, but accompanied with the requirement and the opportunity of doing tshuva, of fixing our ways. We're required to fast, not to eat, not to drink, and we are limited in not being able to seek physical pleasures. And the question is, why is that significant in regard to Yom HaKippurim? Now, it's interesting, when you take a look at the laws of Yom HaKippurim, they are very similar to the laws of Tisha B'Av. You're not allowed to eat, drink, physical pleasures that are prohibited. But yet, it's altogether different. Yom Kippur is a yontif. According to some, there is even a mitzvah of simcha. Of course, it's a spiritual simcha, a spiritual joy. And Tisha B'Av is the saddest day of the year. But there's a Hasidic thought, and I've heard it mentioned in the names of so many different Hasidic Rebbeim, that what is the difference between Tisha B'Av and Yom HaKippurim? Tisha B'Av, they would say, who can eat? Yom Kippur, who needs to eat? Now, I want to explain this idea. And I've addressed it in the past, but I'm going to suggest some new thoughts as well. Now, I think there's a number of possible explanations. Now, it's very interesting. Yom Kippur at night and in the day, when we say Shema, the Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuso le'olam va'ed, that is said immediately after the first pasuk of Shema Yisrael, which on every other day of the year, the Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuso le'olam va'ed is said silently. It's said quietly. It's said like in a whisper. But in Yom HaKippurim, it's said out loud. Now, why is it that the Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuso le'olam va'ed throughout the year is treated differently than the rest of Kriya Shema? But the reason is that the reason it's treated differently is because Kriya Shema, which of course is a portion of the Torah, which was given over from HaKadosh Baruch Hu through Moshe Rabbeinu. So the Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuso le'olam va'ed is not given over. But why do we say it? Because Yaakov Avinu, before he died, he had all his children in front of him, and he said to the children, perhaps he had some concerns because he remembered he had a son, he had a brother Esav, he had an uncle Yishmael, and he was scared that maybe there would be someone who deviates among his children. And they said to him, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. And then he responded, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuso. But because it was said by Yaakov, so we say it. But because Moshe Rabbeinu, in giving the parsha over in the Torah, did not mention it, so because of that, we say it quietly. But in Yom HaKippurim, for some reason, we say it out loud. And the reason given is because the Malachim, the angels, they recite the Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuso L'Olam Va'ed. They say it out loud. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuso L'Olam Va'ed is a response. It's a response to sensing the presence or hearing the name of God. So the question is, why is it that the Kriya Shema, the Kriya Shema is said on Yom HaKippurim? The Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuso L'Olam Va'ed is said out loud. Now, I think the reason is that the Medrash says because the reason given is because on Yom HaKippurim we are all like Malachim, and the Malachim say the Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuso out loud. But we need to understand, what is it about Yom HaKippurim? And what is it about Malachim that we on Yom Kippur act like Malachim and say the Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuso L'Olam Va'ed out loud? Now, I think that the reason perhaps is that that at Yom HaKippurim there's a difference, first of all, between Moshe Rabbeinu and Yaakov Avinu. Moshe Rabbeinu, by him it was mentioned in the Torah. The Torah is revelation. In this world, before Mashiach comes, to a certain degree, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is hidden. There are instances of revelation, but for the most part, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is hidden. The physical world, in a sense, is a curtain that hides HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But we have to penetrate that curtain to a certain degree and sense the presence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu beyond the curtain of nature. L'asad lavo, in the future, to a certain degree, there will be a greater revelation. And it could be that Moshe represents what was revealed. And what was revealed, in a sense, HaKadosh Baruch Hu was not completely revealed in this world. We have to be able to sense his presence in this world. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu in this world is hidden. So the Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuso L'Olam Va'ed, that is said as a response of sensing the presence of God, of hearing God's name, is said in a hidden fashion, whereas Yaakov Avinu was talking, was not the revealer of Torah. So consequently, we say the Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuso, but we say it in a quiet manner. Now, but I think that perhaps it's more than that. And Yom HaKippurim is a day, in a sense, we could say it's a day where there is revelation, that there's a greater revealing of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's presence. But I want to add to that. Now, it's interesting, if you take a look, it's brought down in the name of the Gra, that the Gra would not recite the piyutim. Many of those paragraphs in the Chazaras Hashatz, and when the Chazan repeats the Shemona Esrei, that are associated with Rosh Hashanah and Yom HaKippurim. But, and in Yeshiva Volozhin was founded by Rabbi Chaim Volozhiner, the main Talmud, the main student, the perpetuator of the Derech of the Gra, of the Vilna Gaon. So they did not say the piyutim during the Chazaras Hashatz, but the piyutim were recited after the Chazaras Hashatz. But I heard from my father that in the Sana Tokef, they did recite it during the Chazaras Hashatz. And I was somewhat troubled. After all, the Nisana Tokef is not even from the earliest of the piyutim. If anything, it's from the later of the piyutim. It's true that Nisana Tokef, for some reason, has special significance to the Jewish people. But there are many groups of Jews, Ashkenazic Jews say it, but there are many groups of Jews that the recitation of the Nisana Tokef is not even part of their Nusach HaTfilah. So why is it that the other piyutim were not recited during the Shemona Esrei? And the Nisana Tokef in Volozhin was recited. And I never asked that question to my father. But I was thinking, when you take a look at the Nisana Tokef, where does the Nisana Tokef come? The Nisana Tokef comes right before the Kedusha. A matter of fact, before the Nisana Tokef, we say V'cheinu v'chasal Kedusha, ki ato Elokeinu melech mocha v'saleach. So we could suggest that the Nisana Tokef is not only right before the Kedusha, but it's an introduction into the Kedusha. And in fact is almost part of the Kedusha. And we could suggest, and why would that be? If you take a look, what is the idea about the Nisana Tokef? What is it about Kedusha? It's very interesting when you take a look. Rishonim bring down a strange shita. They ask a question as to why the Kaddish is in Aramaic. And the Kedusha, so they say, because they don't want the Malachim to steal the tefillah of Kaddish. Kaddish is a very nice tefillah, very important tefillah. And they don't want the malachim, whatever that means, to the angels to take that tefillah from us. And the Gemara mentions, again, we have to understand what that means, that the malachim don't understand Aramaic. There's a discussion about other languages. So because of that, to show that the Dusha has nothing, that the Kaddish has nothing to do with the Malachim, it's not even appropriate for the Malachim. So because of that, it's said in Aramaic, a language that is not identified with angels, not identified with the Malachim. However, so Tosfos asks a question against this opinion. Tosfos asks, Dusha is a very nice tefillah. It's a very nice prayer. And Dusha is in Hebrew. Why should we make a difference between Kaddish and Dusha? And I think the answer is very simple. The whole essence of the Dusha is joining HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Is joining HaKadosh Baruch Hu in...
Joining the Malachim.
Joining the Malachim, excuse me. Is joining the Malachim. Is joining the Malachim. Nekadesh Shimcha Ba'olam Kishem Shemakdishim Osach B'Shmei Maro. In a sense, there's a joining between the upper world and the lower world. And to a certain degree, we join the Malachim in the Kedusha. But Kaddish, on the contrary, Kaddish represents the separation. We talk about the future, Yehei Shmei, Rabbi Mevarach L'Olam Omei Omaya. We talk about HaKadosh Baruch Hu name being complete. And as some of the Mefarshim explain, Ein Shmi Shalem, Ein Kisi Shalem. There's an incompleteness in God's name. There's an incompleteness in God's throne. So long as Amalek is in existence before Mashiach comes. It's talking about this world. In the world where there is an Amalek. So to represent the idea, there's a difference between Kaddish and Dusha. And a matter of fact, anytime you look at Kaddish, Kaddish emphasizes Kaddish emphasizes this world as opposed to the upper world. Now, I think that there are times where we join the Malachim. There are times where it's important to understand what it means to accept upon ourselves the task of Malachim. And there are times, on the contrary, where there is a separation between our world and the world of the Malachim. And I think Yom Kippur emphasizes the idea of joining the Malachim. And that's the idea that we become like Malachim. And I want to explain why it should be that way. Now, what is the significance of Yom HaKippurim? And for that matter, I've discussed many times, what is the significance of the Aseret Yemei Tshuva, of all the 10 days of Tshuva? I think the significance is, and I've mentioned it before, that a Jew, and matter of fact, Rosh Hashanah. How does Rosh Hashanah manifest itself as a day of tshuva? There is a machlokes between the Ari and the Gra. Whether on Rosh Hashanah you could say a short vidui. According to the Ari, there is a short vidui that's recited, I think, at the time of Kiyah Shofar. The Gra says that one should not cry on Rosh Hashanah. The Ari felt that crying on Rosh Hashanah is a very positive thing. But certainly it's not the focus of the day, Rosh Hashanah. So, yet Rosh Hashanah is the first of the Aseres Yemei Tshuva. So there's no vidui, there's no crying. According to most poskim, you're not allowed to fast on Rosh Hashanah. There are some shitos that say that one is allowed to fast, but certainly it's no requirement. So the question is, why is it that why is it that Rosh Hashanah is the first Aseres Yemei Tshuva? How does it manifest itself as a day of tshuva? Now, I've mentioned, in the answer to that question, that in Rosh Hashanah we have the mitzvah of shofar blowing. What does shofar blowing represent? It represents the idea of the Jewish people, the reacceptance, the Matan Torah, at Matan Torah. So, as I always mention, we say on Pesach, we say, Ilu kirvanu lifnei Har Sinai v'lo nasan lanu es haTorah dayenu. Har Sinai, if you had brought us close at Mount Sinai, what would be the significance of being brought close to Mount Sinai and not receiving the Torah? But kirvanu doesn't mean you brought us close to Mount Sinai. Kirvanu means you brought us close to you. There was revelation at Har Sinai, in addition to the receiving of the Torah. And a Jew who sins, as the Jewish people did when they built the golden calf, so they not only are rejecting the Torah of Sinai, but they are rejecting the experience of Sinai also. And what's the experience of Sinai? The experience of Sinai is revelation of sensing the presence of God. Our obligation from Sinai is not only to perpetuate the Torah, but the experience of Sinai as well. And the experience of Sinai manifests itself in sensing the presence of God. As we said in Rosh Hashanah, Uvekol shofar hafata, God made his presence known with the sound of the shofar. That's why when a person sins, the regular vidui, we say, Ana Hashem chatasi avisi pashati lefanecha, I sinned before you. How did I come to sin? I came to sin because I made believe that God wasn't there. But if it's Shavisi Hashem Lenegdi Samid, if God is always there, it's very difficult, almost impossible to sin. And this is so when the Vidui said, Anashem Chatasi Avisi Pashati Lefanecha, I realized my mistake. I did my sin in front of you. And the Jewish people, when they built the golden calf, why did they build the golden calf? Because they were able to perpetuate that experience of Sinai as long as Moshe Rabbeinu was there with them. But when Moshe Rabbeinu disappeared from the scene, we don't know what happened to Moshe. And if Moshe is not here, we don't sense the presence of God. And if we don't sense the presence of God, it's easy to sin. We could even build a golden calf. So the idea of Rosh Hashanah is that when we sin, we might not build a golden calf, but we sin in other ways. So we were rejecting not just the Torah of Sinai, but we're rejecting the experience of Sinai. So we have to re-undergo the experience of Sinai in addition to re-accepting the Torah of Sinai. And the experience of Sinai was with the Kol HaShofar. So the 10 days of Tshuva begin with the mitzvah of shofar, with hearing the shofar, with sensing the presence of God. It's very interesting. The Gemara has an expression that Rosh Hashanah that the shofar is kilfnayul fnim. The mitzvah of shofar is like being in the Kodesh Kodashim, in the Holy of Holies. There was no place on earth where you could feel closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu than the Holy of Holies. But with the sound of the shofar, the Gemara tells us, is like being kilafnayul fnim. It's like being in the Kodesh Kodashim, in the Holy of Holies. Because the idea of shofar is based on sensing the presence of God, of feeling closeness to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the essence of tshuva is the mitzvah of coming close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But so Rosh Hashanah is dedicated primarily to re-experiencing Sinai. Yom HaKippurim certainly also has the idea of re-experiencing. But in addition to the re-experiencing, the main focus of Yom HaKippurim is the re-acceptance of the Torah of Sinai. And the vidui. The vidui is a re-acceptance of the Torah. And how did the Jewish people and Yom HaKippurim? That was when the second luchos were brought down. And Moshe Rabbeinu, when he brought down the second luchos, we know that Moshe Rabbeinu was in heaven. We know that of the encounters that Moshe Rabbeinu had with the Malachim in order to save himself, so to say, from the wrath, because they felt that the Torah shouldn't be brought down. So Moshe Rabbeinu had to hold on to the Kisei HaKavod. But he had to undergo that experience of being a malach, of joining the malachim. Because the malachim are the messengers of God. They are the agents of God. And it's very interesting that our sages tell us, Im harav domel malach Hashem tzvakos tavakshu Torah mipiv, im lav al tavakshu Torah mipiv. In order to learn from somebody, you have to be able to perceive him as a malach. What does it mean to perceive him as a malach? Doesn't mean you have to see this angelic figure with wings or something of that sort, but as an agent of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And Moshe Rabbeinu, when he came down from Har Sinai, that was, each time he went up, he was together with the Malachim before HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He stood before. And Yom HaKippurim, when he came down to re-give the Torah to the Jewish people, So he came down as a malach. He had joined the malachim. He came down as a malach. And those were 40 days when he didn't eat or drink. Just as the malachim don't eat and drink. They have no physical body. So And when the Torah was given over to us to a certain in a certain manner, the Torah was given over to us not just for us individually, but was given over for us to give over. We too have to become malachim. So Yom HaKippurim represents a Yom of Nesinas HaTorah, of giving over the Torah. But as I always mention, Rabbi Yisrael Salanta would say that every day has to be like Yom Kippur, but Yom Kippur has to be like every day. In other words, Yom Kippur has to teach us how we have to act. Obviously, the halachas of Yom HaKippurim don't apply to the other days of the year, but the hashkaf of Yom HaKippurim does apply to the other days of the year. We have to assume that role of being a malach. And in a sense, that was the role we received when the Luchos Shnios were brought down by Moshe Rabbeinu. But to a certain degree, we all had to accept upon ourselves Moshe Rabbeinu's role of being a Nosei HaTorah, of giving the Torah over. And perhaps it was to identify ourselves as these malachim that we have to, in a sense, put aside our physical needs, to put aside our perception of being only physical. We have to see ourselves as agents of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And in a sense, in seeing ourselves as agents of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we have to see ourselves as if we were malachim. And in seeing ourselves as malachim, so perhaps that's part of the reason why Yom HaKippurim is a day dedicated to revelation, recognizing not just sensing the presence of God who's hidden, but seeing the revelation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And because of that, on Yom HaKippurim, we say Shema Yisrael. In the Sana Tokef, Dusha is the idea of, we join the Malachim every day, but that's only for a short moment that we join the Malachim. Of course, it's to remind us that we are Malachim. We are Malachim every day. But Yom HaKippurim is dedicated to that idea. So the Grashita was you couldn't add piyutim to the Shemona Esrei, but to the Kedusha he felt that you could add piyutim, perhaps. And in any case, that perhaps might be the reason why in Balazhin, when the Sana Tokef was said in the Chazaras Hashatz, it wasn't so much in the Chazaras Hashatz, it was in the Kedusha. Because, and if you look at the context of the Nisana Tokef and of the Kedusha, it's all the same. The Nisana Tokef could be seen as part of the Kedusha. Now, but I think there is perhaps another reason that we could to explain why. From a hashkafa perspective, the why there is the din of the Chamesh Inuyim, the 5 Inuyim, and also the 5 Inuyim, and also fasting on Yom HaKippurim. Now there is a stira, a seeming stira. My uncle asked this question in Al Tshuva. I don't remember the answer that he gave, but in Perek Zayin of Hilchos Tshuva, The Rambam says, Hoel v'rishus kol adam nasunulo kamosha biyarno yishtadel ha'adam lasos tshuva ulinor kappa mechatav k'dei sheyamas v'hu bal tshuva k'dei sheyizke l'chayam ha'olam haba. Now, the way my uncle read the Rambam was, the Rambam isn't just coming here to tell me the reward that you get for getting tshuva. But on the contrary, the Rambam is telling me that a person should do tshuva in order to get olam haba. It's not just that if he does tshuva, he will get olam haba. But he should do tshuva in order to get olam haba. That should be his motive in doing tshuva. But then, in Halacha Yud, the Rambam there talks about doing mitzvahs l'shma. Doing mitzvahs the way the Rambam explains it, out of love of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Rambam, and this is the last parak of Hilchos Tshuva, so obviously what he's talking here applies not only to mitzvahs, but in general, but it applies to mitzvah tshuva also. Al Yomar Adam Hareini Yosa Mitzvahs HaTorah V'Osek B'Chachmasa. A person shouldn't say that I will be involved in the mitzvahs of the Torah and involved in the studying of the knowledge of the Torah. Kidei she'akabel habrachos haksuvos b'Torah, that I should get the rewards that are mentioned in the Torah for fulfilling the mitzvahs. Or to say you should not do the mitzvahs l'chatchila in order to get the reward of olam haba. And the efrosh min averos shizhira Torah mehen, and they shouldn't say the reason I am refraining from the sins and the prohibitions, that I should be saved from the curses of the Torah, or in order to prevent me from not getting a portion in Olam Haba. It's not proper. This is not the proper approach of serving God. This is not the way of the prophets, and this is not the way of the wise. So he says, but we have to do it. We should serve God me'ava, out of love of God. Yes, of course, there's a reward at the end. So it seems to be a contradiction. In Perek Zayin, the Rambam seems to emphasize that we should do tshuva in order to get Olam Haba. Not only that we will get Olam Haba, but in order to get Olam Haba. And here, the Rambam says, no. The Rambam seems to say, and this is the final perk of Hilchos Tshuva. So he's obviously talking about tshuva also. He says you shouldn't do these things. Your service of HaKadosh Baruch Hu shouldn't be in order to get Olam Haba. How are we to answer this contradiction? But I think there are two perspectives that a person could have of Olam Haba. One perspective, and then there's another question that could be asked. And I've mentioned this question before. The Sifri Zuta, I think, especially in these days where Eretz Yisrael is central to our minds, it's important to focus on this. The Sifri Zuta says that I would think, and the Rambam and Sefer Mitzvahs quotes the Sifri Zuta, that a person could say that a person to do the mitzvah of vidui. And according to the Rambam, the mitzvah of vidui and the mitzvah of tshuva, as Reb Chaim would say, is the same mitzvah. The Ramban separates the mitzvah of vidui as one mitzvah and the mitzvah of tshuva as another mitzvah. However, according to the Rambam, the mitzvah of vidui and the mitzvah of tshuva is one mitzvah. So I would say that in order to do the mitzvah of vidui, which includes in it doing tshuva, a person has to go to Eretz Yisrael. So in the Tochacha it says V'zvadu eschatosam v'eschatos avosam, that the Jewish people who were sent into Golus will say vidui for their sins and the sins of their ancestors who were perhaps in Eretz Yisrael. But we see that vidui could be recited in Chutz La'aretz also, outside the land of Eretz Yisrael, in Golus. It could be recited. So the question is, in other words, if not for a special pasuk telling me to the contrary, I would suggest that for a person to do say vidui, to do real tshuva, to do complete tshuva, he has to go to Eretz Yisrael. Why would I suggest such a thing? On the basis of logic, that I would need exeris hakosov, that I need a pasuk to tell me, no, you can do tshuva right now where you are. But if not for a special pasuk, I would say in order to do tshuva, you have to go to Eretz Yisrael. Why would I say such a thing? But the answer is, the mitzvah of tshuva is a mitzvah in the literal sense of the word, of coming close to God. The Rambam says, look how great the mitzvah of tshuva is. This person was previously, in a sense, separated from God. There was a wall that separated him from God. But now that he did tshuva, the wall is broken, and he's beloved. In a sense, in a figurative manner, HaKadosh Baruch Hu hugs him. So the essence of tshuva is coming close to God. And where is God's presence most apparent? God's presence is most apparent in Eretz Yisrael. From the beginning of the year to the end of the year, the Torah tells us, God's presence is most apparent there. And Rishonim tell us that besides the Kedusha, besides the sanctity that Eretz Yisrael has, that makes its fruits required in Trumos and Maasros, Eretz Yisrael has a Kedusha, has a sanctity because of the presence of the Shekhinah, the presence of God that's there. And that Kedusha was there from the time of Avraham Avinu. And even when Jews were not in Eretz Yisrael, and even when Jews went into Golus and were chased out of Eretz Yisrael, the presence of God is always there in Eretz Yisrael. It's the Kedusha Shekhinah. The sanctity of the presence of God is always there in Eretz Yisrael. And since the mitzvah of tshuva is a mitzvah of coming close to God, so I would say, in order to do tshuva, and as I mentioned, Rav Chaim said, the mitzvah of vidui is a mitzvah of tshuva. Included in it is a mitzvah of tshuva. So I have to go to Eretz Yisrael because there is where I feel that closeness to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that closeness to God. But there's a special pasuk says, there is a certain degree of closeness that you could get even outside the land of Israel. And in order to do the mitzvah of tshuva, that closeness is sufficient for the time being. You could that closeness is sufficient. And it's interesting that now, but the ultimate closeness. Now there is a machlokus, a dispute between the Rambam and the Ramban about Olam Haba, the world to come. The Rambam's opinion is that when a person dies, his soul goes to the Olam HaNeshamos, the world of the souls. And then there will be a period of Tchias HaMesim, when the dead will be revived, and the soul will leave the Olam HaNeshamos and return to the earth. But there will be many, many differences. But ultimately, a person will again return to the Olam HaNeshamos, to the world of the souls. Now, what is the world of the souls? There can be no description of the world of the souls because it cannot be described, that a human being could understand it, because there's no physicality in the world of the souls. But the Olam Haba manifests itself, the Rambam tells us, in the righteous, that being feeling closeness to God, and the pleasure, the spiritual pleasure of the closeness to God. There is no eating, there is no drinking, there is no physical pleasure, but there is spiritual pleasure in the closeness to God. And in a sense, I think that to a certain degree, that's what the Rambam means when he says we should do the mitzvos, that we should do tshuva in order to get Olam Haba. Because that's the essence of tshuva. The essence of tshuva is coming close to God. And the ultimate closeness is in Olam Haba, where there is no physical world. It's just total spirituality. There is no curtain that you have to penetrate to sense the presence of God. That's the ultimate closeness that there is to God. And that's the essence of the mitzvah of tshuva. When the Rambam says that a person shouldn't do in Perek Yud, that a person shouldn't do the mitzvahs in order to get Olam Haba, or not to be held back from getting Olam Haba. He's talking about somebody who wants Olam Haba because he doesn't want to be left out. He wants the cover of Olam Haba. He doesn't want to be left out. He wants to be seen as associated with a certain group of people. That Olam Haba, perhaps you don't want to say it's physical pleasure, but it's psychological pleasure. Olam Haba is removed from any kind of physical or psychological pleasure. Only spiritual pleasure of the closeness to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, of being close to God. And it's to remind us of what the mitzvah of tshuva is, I think, that we could say that on Yom HaKippurim is a day, there's no eating, no drinking, no physical pleasure, because the ultimate glow is the closeness to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the ultimate closeness to HaKadosh Baruch Hu is in Olam Haba, and according to the Rambam, in the world of the neshamos, the world of the souls. And because of that, to identify Yom HaKippurim as a Yom Tshuva, as a day of Tshuva, so with whose aim, whose goal is the ultimate closeness to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we refrain from eating and drinking. In Olam Haba, we don't need eating and drinking. We don't need it. That's why in Yom HaKippurim, in identification with the closeness to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, with the closeness to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that we have with Olam Haba, and which is identified with the mitzvah of tshuva, that the Torah said that in addition to doing tshuva, in addition to seeking kapara, we have to refrain from the physical pleasures and to identify with the Olam HaNeshamos, the world to come, the world that we have the ultimate closeness to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But that closeness begins here. It begins in this world. It doesn't happen in one moment. It's a process. And different places gives us a greater sensation of the presence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, greater closeness. But the ultimate closeness is in Olam Haba. So therefore, Yom HaKippurim, we act as if we are in Olam Haba. Okay.
Is there any questions in the chat?